Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the November 12th combined meeting of the Pine-Richland School District to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Lyons.
Present.
Ms. Misbach.
Here.
Mr. Kashani.
Here.
Dr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. DiTullio.
Here.
Mrs. Goebel.
Here.
Dr. Meyer.
Here.
Dr. Mihalik.
Here.
Mr. Moy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 1.02 will move to recognition of visitors. If anyone would like to address the board, they may do so at this time. I ask that you state your name and address and try to limit yourself to 3 minutes, please.
Okay.
We also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting, so for those who want to address the board at that time.
I'm Dana Nover-Siebel, and I live at 2122 West Grove Drive. This is Melissa King and Julie Schambachler. And I have 2 issues today that I just want to bring in front of the board. The first is security for our children while they're at school. All of the women here with me tonight are interested to hear from the board on what is being done to protect our children in the age of mass shootings. I know the PR recently received a $25,000 grant from the School Safety and Security Grant Program, and we are interested to know what you're doing with that money. Is there a reason why you have not put metal detectors into any of our schools? Is it the cost? Because we feel the cost of losing 1 student is far greater than what metal detectors are going to cost. What other options have you considered, and what have you ruled out, and why? As a community, we feel this information should be shared with us. As like the bathroom options and the start time changes, we would like to have an open forum to discuss this more. We receive emails from the district, as you know, of unfounded threats, and it's very unsettling for a parent to not receive a follow-up email saying that this person was apprehended or the situation is under control. You say that you've received them, but you don't let us know that it's been taken care of. So many parents are concerned with sending their children to school the next day. I'm sure you've heard the statistics on the news recently that there have been 307 mass shootings this year with 328 people being killed, which is heart-wrenching. And from January 2018 to May 2018, there has already been 23 school shootings. And in this school year alone, from August to present, there has been 7 school shootings. So that is a total of 30 from January to present. That's the first issue that we want to get an answer on. And we're wondering if you'd be able to consider doing an open forum just for all of us to, all of the parents, not just us women who are here today, to have an open conversation, to know what you're planning on doing. The second issue is that I recently had a graduate last year, and I have a 10th grader, and I'm wondering why there is not a rain date that has been put in place, that we have our graduation on a Friday night, and if it rains, that there is a Saturday rain date. All of the other schools around this area, Mount Lebanon, Hampton, North Allegheny, Seneca Valley, all have rain dates. And so just would like to have some consideration on that as well. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? There is another opportunity for public comment at the conclusion of this evening's meeting. All right, please, yeah.
And again, thank you for taking the time to listen to us. My name is Melissa King, and I have 2 children that attend Pine-Richland. I'm from the community. I went to Mars High School, which is my alma mater. I know they have metal detectors. We're not impervious to this type of threat here in this community. I think it's imperative that we recognize. I know that we're taking cautions and making movements towards behavioral and mental health issues, which I think is fantastic. I'm an advocate for that as well. But I also think it's really important that we have that last line of defense, not only for the children every day that walk these halls, but for the administration and the staff. I am a territory vice president of Kelly Services, and I have substitute staff that work in the halls of these school districts every day as well. And I am on the safety committee with almost 36 districts in the community, and we're having these dialogue, with other districts as well. This, of course, hits home to me because this is my community, this is where I live, and this is where the two loves in my life, walk the halls every day. So school safety is a key component right now, and I really trust that each and every one of you will do everything you can to advocate for the safety and ensure that we're doing everything, meaning metal detectors. And in this day and age, it's not happening in the city schools. Woodland Hills, Wilkinsburg, they're all my districts. They have metal detectors. It's happening here. It's happening in these type of communities. So thank you for listening to us and acknowledging our concerns as parents. And I trust you implicitly that you'll take this and move forward and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's a long list of concerns, there are some which we've discussed in the past, and while we can't necessarily go through them all on our agenda tonight, but if any of you would like to leave your contact information to myself or Ms. Williams, we can have a member of the administration follow up and talk about some of those topics as we've addressed them through the year. I know not everyone can be at every meeting where these topics come up, so thank you. Anyone else? Again, we'll have the time at the end of the meeting tonight too. All right, Ms. Hathorn, student staff recognition, please.
Thank you. Pine-Richland High School senior Serenity Watt earned Student of the Month for her studies in early childhood education, and senior McKenna Joseph for advertising design, both completing their studies partly at Pine-Richland and at A.W. Beatty Career Center. Pine-Richland Middle School 8th grader Alexander Yearling had the unique opportunity to participate in a program entitled 88 Keys for Pittsburgh on October 27th during a Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra fundraising program. The PSO launched the campaign to raise $200,000 for a new grand piano for Heinz Hall. Alexander and 3 other students from North Allegheny were part of a piano quartet, playing 8 hands on 2 pianos, so that was pretty impressive. Pine-Richland Air Force Junior ROTC cadets are planning to host a drill competition at Pine-Richland High School on December 1st, starting at 10 a.m. The community is invited to attend. There will be food and refreshment, and the program runs until 5 p.m. The cadets successfully participated in its first drill competitions of the year at Air Force Base in Youngstown, Ohio, and also at Plum High School. They earned several first place awards and also first place overall at Plum. You can see all the details at pinerichland.org/PRHS. There's a lot of awards, so you might want to check that out. Also, Pine-Richland High School student government members are kicking off the annual Stuff a Bus collection. New unwrapped toys can be dropped off at any school in the district November 19th through the 21st and November 27th through the 29th. Students will be taking the donations to Robinson Town Center on November 30th, and thank you to Student Transportation of America who are donating buses and driver time for the cause. Also, Pine-Richland High School girls field hockey team entered round 1 of the PIA playoffs and was stopped by Penn Manor. Pine-Richland High School football team will play Seneca Valley in the Whitfield Championship game at Heinz Field, 8 p.m. on Saturday after beating Mount Lebanon. You can purchase pre-sale tickets 4 to 7 p.m. on Wednesday at the stadium lobby and ticket booths, and the tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for students. You can also purchase tickets at Heinz Field prior to the game. Also, want to remind you that the Wizard of Oz opens on Wednesday through Thursday this week at 7 p.m. Each night, and Peter and the Starcatcher will be performed November 29th at 4 p.m. For senior citizens, and then the public at 7 p.m. on November 30th and December 1st and 1 p.m. on December 1st as well. Ticket information can be found at pinerichland.org/PRHS. So that is all.
Thank you, Rachel. And I really want to highlight the Air Force Junior ROTC winning awards as they have in years previous as well. Just an example of a program that we're able to maintain now through, I think, a great collaborative effort and initiative from the administration with the crosstown agreement with Mars, and what a great opportunity those students now have to join this program that's obviously widely recognized in the region. So tremendous all around.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, correspondence, please.
The following people contacted the board regarding school start times: James and Amy Matthew, John and Jen Humenick, Karen Dudkowski, and Ashley Deschellis.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. As a reminder, we may have received correspondence from some members of the audience just in the past few hours, so which will be logged and noted in our next meeting minutes. So if you don't see your name up there, that's probably why. And as a reminder to the board, as we receive more correspondence, I do, given enough time, might be 48 hours or so, try to respond to everybody to at least acknowledge that we received their message and thank them for their input. So as long as it's possible logistically, which it still is. So. Right.
Okay.
We have an item for minutes. Item 1.05 is a motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached. Could I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item 2.01, Dr. Miller.
Thank you. We have a couple strategic updates this evening. The first we started a few years ago, and that is quarterly updates on what are determined to be key initiatives. And we talk about key initiatives as those areas that have significant focus and impact across the organization. A lot of them deal with teaching and learning, but they do touch on other areas of operation as well. So for example, as you know, right now we're in the midst of strategic planning. We are literally mapping the next 4 years of the district. It does not get any more important than that. So we have town hall opportunities, multiple over time, to help get input and shape ideas. We write this in such a way as it can be read, so I'm not going to walk through each one. I will highlight, though, that one of our key initiatives this year does relate to school safety and security. And over the last year, we have had numerous e-blasts and information sent home to families to try to be as clear as possible about those areas of focus related to safety and security. We've had meetings with the board to discuss safety and security. One of the realities that we note is a relationship with Northern Regional. We are fortunate to have as strong a partnership and supportive presence by a local law enforcement as you can have in schools. That relationship does not exist everywhere, and we had opportunities to strengthen that this year, as the board knows. So one of the realities of law enforcement is paperwork. And instead of doing paperwork in vehicles or in the police station, we have a space set up in each of our schools for even that function to happen within the school while still preserving a little bit of that balance between police and the school district, which are two different things. So that is one example. I will note to the board and to the public, certain parts of safety and security are not discussed publicly. They're not part of the public plan. Even the legislation has changed to permit executive session around specifically focused on safety and security topics. So recently we received the $25,000 grant. We also submitted a significant grant for, that's part A of their process. There's a part B for grant submission. We submitted a significant grant for that. We did receive, as did I believe all of the public school districts who made application for it, the first part of that money. We don't have the money yet, but we have the word that we've been approved. And so we will be taking different actions with that to support safety in the school. Some of which we may not get into specific detail publicly. We won't do that. It's not out of a lack of desire to inform. It is out of a best practice to not publish or disseminate detailed descriptions of what our plans are or are not, or how we have supports and safety. So I know that can be uncomfortable for families at times who would like to be reassured or have additional information. There is a balance line there, so we attempt to reach that line and communicate effectively, and we'll continue to do that. So this describes some of what's occurring. We did hire an additional safety and security coordinator this year, as the board is aware. We also have an increased use of a third-party contractor with some of our evening activities, because safety and security on our school campuses, as we've talked about, isn't just in the 8 to 9 hour school day. It is also, our campuses are alive, the secondary campus in particular. You know, from 2:30 when the school day ends until 10 o'clock at night, there are many things happening in our schools at the middle school and high school. So that's, again, an example of a key initiative. And by doing a quarterly update, we'll do one at the mid-year, we'll do one in the spring as well. It helps to get that information out to families, and we often attach this to future communications that come from me or from Ms. Hathorn. So that's the first item. The second we have here, excuse me, is school start times. Again, this is a topic that has been studied and reviewed for well over a year. We've been providing updates, but over the last several months, the options considered have narrowed. And whether it's through communication around our town hall or electronic survey where people can provide some input through that, we have tried to continue to communicate around that. Knowing we're reaching a point where we wanted to ensure that the entire PR community had clear, accurate information. It's hard to have clear, accurate information when you have 3 people in a room. When there are 4,600 students and there are thousands of families across many schools, one of the challenges that faces any organization or leadership group is how do you communicate the right amount of detail accurately? And so this slide has the link to the podcast. Dr. Pasquinelli and Dr. Silbaugh narrated that podcast. It went out to they did an excellent job, by the way. Different styles of speaking, but very clear in their communication. That went out Sunday morning. We have found that when we communicate our messages at 6 a.m., we get a higher open rate. And so we communicated that podcast on the weekend in order to try to get people with the time to be able to review it. So I won't repeat what's in the podcast in this brief overview. But the issue that drove the study of school start times was really the issue of health and wellness for secondary age students, adolescents, older adolescents, around sleep, around their engagement, historically around the structure of schools and how schools exist and why. And there are many logistics that go into that, and we touch upon some of those in the podcast. And the group looked at various options such as shifting everything back for an 8 o'clock start. Then we looked at shifting everything back for a 7:50 start, shifting everything back for 7:45. We contemplated the flip-flop because sometimes younger children are up earlier. So we looked at the potential of flip-flopping Eden Hall and the high school, middle school. There are an incredible number of logistical challenges that come with any change to the school day. But at the end of the day, what the group studied and the reason this emerged as a strategic topic was thinking about sleep, the wellness and health of our adolescents. The literature we tried to ground this in is linked, and there's a lot of good information out there about places that have studied school start times, and I don't know that we have any real opposition to healthier times for kids. The challenge is, what is the impact of a potential change on others? And how do you account for the potential impact on families, knowing that every family is different? Different circumstances at home, different activities that they're engaged in. I mean, the sort of the permutations of that don't ever end. And it matters whether there's multiple kids, one kid, work schedules, etc. So the reason that the recommendation came forward as it exists was how can a meaningful benefit be provided to older adolescents and at the same time try to minimize the impact on primary age students. That was the question. We tried to lay that out as competing interests because I don't know how else to describe that other than it's hard to change something for one group and not have some degree of change for another group. It's just very difficult to do that. And so how to find what is a meaningful and right line, and that's what we've attempted to do thus far. So with the podcast, it appears that that was received. People are listening, did listen to that, are thinking about what is the impact of that on my family or us, and how can we deal with that. And so we anticipate listening to the feedback that we receive. And that'll be feedback whether it comes to the administration directly or it comes to the board. That's all input that we need to consider and understand. And then at the same time, we have to communicate answers in a clear, accurate, coherent way. That's not simple. One-on-one generally doesn't work effectively to communicate to large groups of people. So what I would anticipate is that we will gather feedback, sort through to see questions that come up often, craft a response to those frequently asked questions, and then make that information public to our families. That way, everybody's hearing the same questions, seeing the same responses as a more effective way to look at that.
Could I just
Sure.
jump in and add something? So one of the things that Dr. Miller just alluded to around safety and security is how this campus, this middle school, high school campus, is alive after school. And it doesn't just end at 4:30. I mean, many times I'm sure board members and community members have left this campus 9, 10 o'clock, and it's still alive with activity. That's the nature of our middle school and high school students now. I mean, they are doing things, whether it's academic, athletics, something around music, something around work. They're engaged in positive ways outside of the school day. That's just a reality. They're also taking rigorous courses that are challenging them into the evening to be prepared for the next day. So when we think about that, how can we get some additional time for rest for them in the morning without impacting elementary age students significantly? That's really where we ended up with this. How can we maximize the start for our older students and minimize the impact for our youngest students? And that's where we ended up with the recommendation that we have at this point. You walk around this building first period, kids are tired. I mean, you see it. If you see if you have high school age students, as they get on the bus, there's a huge difference than when they get on in the afternoon. Their readiness for learning is not at that same level because of the, we believe, the lack of sleep that they're getting. We've talked a lot about partnership with community and school. So establishing some of those nighttime routines with our middle school and high school students will be vital. If we keep staying up late, 25 minutes isn't that significant. But if we make some of those changes on the back end at home, in addition to what we're trying to do a little bit here at school, we think that can make a significant impact for secondary age students without a significant modification for the elementary aged.
And I would add, so this is on, at the end of the podcast, it indicates that action for 2019-20 would need to happen early in 2019. There are a lot of logistical details. So no action is, from our standpoint, being recommended immediately, but it's the information is there, the summary is there. We'll be listening to questions, and then we anticipate in January or very early February we would need to consider this. That's critical because if a change occurs, we need to make sure we have enough time to manage all of the details, communicate that effectively, and then ensure that families have the opportunity to make those adjustments as well.
One final comment on that as well, just thinking about the impact it could have on the 2,300 students. I'm obviously coming from a K-6 lens, but my job is to also help look across the system. I really do think that with that option C, by the adjustment of just 15 to 20 minutes on the younger students who will eventually also reap the benefits of being a teenager who is eventually in that same position, it's just really well worth it and something to consider.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. Mr. Kashani, Finance, item 3.01, please.
3.01, motion to approve the financial reports dated October 31st, 2018, and accounts payable dated November 12th, 2018, in the amount of $183,202.45, and paid accounts for October and November in the amount of $2,829,801.45 as listed.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
3.02, motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $106,434 as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
3.03, motion to approve the following individuals as check signers for the accounts listed. For the Pine-Richland Middle School student activities, Dr. David Kristofic, middle school principal, Ms. Nancy Bowman, high school principal, Mr. Jacob Minsinger, assistant middle school principal, and for Pine-Richland High School athletics, Ms. Nancy Bowman, principal, Mr. Sean Simmons, director of athletics, Mr. Rob Pushkis, assistant principal, and Ms. Stephanie Svilar, assistant principal.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
3.04, motion to authorize the closure of the PLGIT one-class bank account, Fund 35, high school expansion, and transfer the remaining amount to PLGIT one-class account in Fund 32, capital reserve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Oh.
And I chuckle because I can assume this means the high school is now finished, right?
Well, yeah, and this is actually, this traces to bit back to Eden Hall.
Even,
so
right,
this
yeah.
is a big moment. Yeah, big moment.
Should we pause and
I
celebrate?
think we just did.
Yeah. It's been memorialized.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
3.05 is just a friendly reminder of a meeting scheduled. It's a joint finance and building and grounds committee meeting on December 10th at 6. And 3.06 is just a note saying that we would like to schedule a few meetings here, February 11th and April 8th of 2019.
That'd work. That's our typical.
Yeah, at 2:20, 2:21, whatever it takes.
Good. All right. Dr. Meyer, academic achievement.
The second here is a long one tonight. So the first one is 4.01. This is new course recommendations for the 2019-2020 Pine-Richland High School Program of Studies. These course additions were based on recommendations from the in-depth program reviews in science and business computer science.
Do you just want to pass?
Yeah, I'll do a quick summary. Yeah, that's meant for your reading pleasure, but not necessarily right now. So this is me excited about an opportunity. We are fortunate. We went through these in-depth program reviews over the last couple of years, and what the community and board is seeing is a byproduct of the work. This first example here, so these are courses we are recommending, new courses for the high school program of studies for the 1920 school year. The first course, Honors Humanity, that did not necessarily come directly out of the in-depth program review, but it's a byproduct, ripple effect. If you recall, we talked about providing science credit for any science course that wasn't a past practice. As a result, we have students now interested in taking some different science courses. One of them that has really blown up is our current anatomy course. That's positive, more students taking that course. With that, we have a range of learners taking that anatomy course, some that are thinking about going into the health field, some that are just interested in that course. So with that range comes challenges, so thus the need for this honors anatomy that can really go much deeper with those students that are thinking in a science field post high school. So that's one of our recommendations. Really excited to share that with you. One that came directly out of the in-depth program review is AP Environmental Science. To add additional AP course offerings, this will be available to students in grades 11, 12. We think a lot of our students will be excited about this opportunity for an environmental course. We saw a decrease in the opportunities in environmental science as students left Eden Hall and went through the middle school. So again, byproduct of the study that came out of the in-depth program review. That's for science. In computer science, this app design, again, some other school districts have begun to offer app design. We all use apps on our smartphones. We've seen some of our students go outside of our courses and design apps, and we see a real opportunity and interest for this semester-long course. So that's going to be coming through on the program of studies in January. And then the last recommendation is an honors finance. So currently we offer a personal finance course, very popular course for students in 9 through 12. Again, wide range of students taking that course. This will allow us to narrow to those students that are really thinking about finance post-high school. So we can go much deeper with a group of students that have that interest. So this is just for board and community awareness. Board will be voting on these recommendations in January when we bring the high school program of studies forward, but we just wanted to give you an initial heads up and see if you had any feedback or thoughts.
So I had a question, because in the description it says this course, for the honors finance and investments, this course expands upon the basic financial knowledge acquired in the personal finance course. Does that mean that that's a prerequisite of taking the personal finance to be able to take this course, the honors finance and investments?
That's the direction we're leaning. We're modifying the current personal finance course, which is currently a year-long course, and going to make that a semester course. Okay. So that sequence could be for even a 10th grader to come in and take that either in 9th grade or beginning of 10th, and then take the honors course in the second semester.
Okay.
Item 4.02.
I'm sorry, I was sorry. I had one more question on environmental science, and if you don't know the answers right now, so just what the prerequisites are, and if you could, and this certainly later when we vote on it, just identify the resources that will be provided. This is an AP course we don't offer currently, so what opportunities the instructor is going to be given, who you've identified, how and why, and how we're going to get them up to speed on a new AP course.
We haven't finalized the prereqs there yet. Definitely some, bio, but all students have that opportunity. There'll probably be a percentage requirement for success in that course, but we haven't really refined to the degree that we're ready to talk about prereqs. You're going to see in an upcoming agenda item of the resources that we're evaluating. So we are evaluating AP environmental resources to support that course, and we have ongoing professional development that's offered and typically locally for teachers to be prepared to teach that course, and we will definitely engage the teachers that we're considering for teaching it.
Right, and I saw the curriculum materials, so thank you.
Yep, sure.
Item 4.02 is for consideration of the combined December meeting, a motion to approve the purchase of McGraw-Hill number talks resources at Sister Below kindergarten to 3rd grade for the 2019-2020 year in the amount of $2,541.
So to speak a little bit more to this, again, this came out of our in-depth program review for mathematics, and there was a recommendation 3, around getting number talks built into the K-3 span so that students are becoming a little bit more familiar with conceptual processes, procedural fluency. It ties back into the standards for math practice, and these resources will allow us to give our K-3 teachers the tools that they use visually, so TENS frames, different subitization cards, ways that the students engage in actual discussion around solving problems in multiple ways. So there's also a professional development component that will be embedded in February. So by procuring these in December, we'll have them on site for that training, so that after they've learned the theory behind it and how to utilize them, they can begin trying to embed them, so that then it can be utilized with full force in the coming school year as well.
So I had just a comment, the subitize.
Yes.
I did look that up because I did not know what that was.
Looks like a domino or dice if you're familiar.
Right, and you just kind of see it and you know the amount without having to count.
Yeah, there are several different foundational skills, and that's one.
Right.
Yeah. I'm impressed you looked that up.
Item 4.03 is through the in-depth program review process, the following resources will be evaluated over the course of the 2018-2019 school year.
And I'll just chime in real quick with that too, Dr. Meyer. So you can see the list of resources that we are evaluating. Today we started our evaluation process with a group of science teachers at the high school around the physics, astronomy, anatomy, and AP environmental. You can see the current copyrights of our resources. It's time for some updated resources in those courses, and of course for the new courses that we're recommending, we will need appropriate curriculum-aligned resources. So we always start our evaluation with the textbook is not the curriculum. It is meant to be a resource to support the learning goals and big ideas that have been established by Pine-Richland School District teachers. And then we look to find those resources that most tightly aligned. This board and community has been extremely supportive of us purchasing new resources over the last 4 years. We've spent a significant amount of money, but hopefully parents and families are seeing the benefit of that money spent from K to 6 ELA, K to 5 mathematics. Really K to 12, we have supported the curriculum with these high-quality resources. We're going to stick with both hard copy, because we hear from our students that they like to touch a book and turn a page still, but we also look for online resources because it provides that flexibility for families and students and teachers, and we'll continue to do that. So this agenda item was just there as, again, informational item for the board to know the process they're working through science, mathematics, and health and physical education. We'll provide updates as we go through the evaluation throughout the course of the year.
Last item is 4.04, and that is just a reminder that an academic achievement committee meeting is scheduled for November 19th, 2018 to discuss the academic achievement and growth report. A board meeting will not follow the committee meeting.
So clear your schedules. This is the one committee meeting not to miss this year. So thank you, Dr. Meyer.
Just clear them for a couple hours, though. No need to clear more than 2.
Right, and everyone's invited. The public is invited at 6 o'clock on that date. So 6 to 8, probably.
We should open up concessions.
Right.
We do have an agreement for that, just so you know.
I think you said, okay. Item 5.01 is a 1,000 hours grant, and it's a motion to accept in accordance with Board Policy 702 and with sincere gratitude, a grant for $26,000 for the Pine-Richland School District from the Women for a Healthy Environment. And does someone want to speak on this that knows a little more background on, on this grant? Because this is fantastic.
Do you want it seconded first before?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Second.
Good. There you go.
Second.
Done.
So the idea of preventative testing, so the board has heard about preventative testing in a district for a while. We did lead testing in water long before it was required by new legislation. But there are certain areas of testing that we wanted to try to tie together to form a new baseline or benchmark period of time. So we see, again, retesting water for lead. That includes testing samples in buildings like the high school that have 3 different construction areas, time periods, 93, 2000, 2012. We test all of those fountains in different areas, same with the other schools. But we wanted to expand that, and when Wexford won the Green Ribbon, there was a relationship connection made through that process that led to the grant proposal being submitted and received. So the radon will be a component that's tested, lead in paint. Some things are covered by the grant, some are not. But over the next, I would say, month and a half, we have indoor air quality. We'll be doing tests there as well. We will establish a baseline. We will report all of those reports publicly in the same manner in which Hants Elementary this fall. Every indoor air quality test at Hants was posted to the Hants website in a place that people could have access to if they wanted. So we will bring all of these preventive testing results forward. We'll bring them to the board. That'll comply with and exceed legislative requirements, and that'll give us an opportunity then to have a baseline to compare against at whatever cycle makes sense. Retesting the water, frankly, is overkill, but we're doing it so that we have all of our preventive testing done in the same time window, and that way we have a period of time to move forward from here.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5.02 is a motion to approve a proposal from Radon Detection and Control to perform radon testing at each building at a cost of $14,350.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Let me just go back forward.
All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5.03 is a motion to approve the purchase and installation of a replacement stage curtain for the Hance Elementary School from Pittsburgh Stage, Inc. As attached, and that cost is, I believe, $7,000 to the district.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
And item 5.04 is a motion to approve an agreement with PESCO for natural gas supply and services for the Pine-Richland School, covering a 36-month term beginning on April 1st, 2019. And this proposal will currently save us approximately 7% on our current billings. And this is a change in vendor, if I'm correct. Am I correct? Yeah. Am I right? It's 7% over current baseline for the past? Yeah.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Campbell, Student Services, please.
Okay, item 6.01 is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Air Force Junior ROTC students to travel to Vienna, Ohio on November 28th to participate in an orientation flight on a C-130 as described in the attached field trip request form. Cost of the district is only $250 for transportation.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6.02 for the mock trial is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the GATE students to travel to Harrisburg from Thursday, March 28th to Saturday, March 30th, 2019 to participate in the mock trial competition as described in the attached form. The cost of the district for this one is $5,000 for registration, transportation, meals, and lodging.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6.03 is a motion to approve the attached list of student organizations and officers for the 2018-19 school year in compliance with Board Policy 618.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6.04 is a motion to approve the agreement between the Pine-Richland School District and the Hope Learning Center for services during the 2018-2019 school year as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, item 6.05 is a motion to approve the attached 2-year agreement with a caring place at no cost to the district.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're good? Got a discussion point. Sorry, I apologize. Do you want to?
I was just going to explain, yeah.
Yeah.
This is through our resiliency initiative, the district has the opportunity to engage with the caring place to provide services for grieving children and adolescents, and it's a 2-year agreement. There's a 60-day opt-out, and it's we engage in the services on an as-needed basis. We partner with the agency. They provide counselors who have clearances and abide by FERPA and HIPAA. It's may sound on the surface similar to our school-based mental health, but it is very different in the fact that it's a partnership. We work with them, they work with us, they train our counselors, we provide group counseling in partnership with them. It can occur here on our site, or it can occur at their agency. And like I said, there's an opt-out, and but even though it's a 60-day opt-out, it's essentially we engage in the services on an as-needed basis. So if we don't want to, we don't have to.
Thank you, Mr. Uswood.
So a question on that. So it says at no cost. Is there a cost once we engage them for their services?
No cost.
So how is that funded then? Is that through the state and federal?
It's funded vastly through Highmark and through community donations.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Mrs. Goval, Staff Services.
Item 7.01 is motion to approve the personnel, supplemental, and transportation items as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7.02, it's a motion to authorize the superintendent and director of human resources and legal affairs to hire staff as necessary after November 12th of 2018 to be formally approved by the Board of School Directors at the December 10th, 2018 school board meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just want to provide some clarity. So this is specifically around some technology positions. If we get to a place where there's a candidate, in order to not wait basically a month to make that happen, this would give us the ability to move forward. Again, it may or may not be needed, but it's specifically around a systems administrator role.
All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7.03 is a motion to approve the student teachers as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7.04 is a motion to approve the second reading of the 200 pupils batch and miscellaneous policies as listed and attached.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
And item 7.05 is an information item, and the subject is revised administration regulations for policy 808 food services. So does someone from administration want to add any content to that?
I can at least say that the only change to this administrative regulation is very small. This is primarily regarding any of kind of the extras or a la carte items such as snacks. So for example, if a student happens to be either negative or low in their food service balance and they happen to bring up a bag of chips, essentially this does indicate that the food service department is able to put those chips back and not continue to have that student's account run negative. This does not at all affect anything that we've discussed in the past about a student receiving a meal. That will always continue. This is merely just for some of those extras, such as either snacks or an extra bottle of water.
Okay, thank you. And then moving on to 7.06, the Staff Services Committee met earlier this evening, and the administration or student leadership team had presented a thorough and robust leadership development program, and I don't know if
Thank you.
yeah, I was actually impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that.
Okay, so you're saying you're normally not impressed with the things that they do?
That's a little more
Let the record show
Thanks, Greg. I owe you one.
The committee agenda and the attachment is on board docs, so if someone would want to go into a detail, they can.
Great.
I did find it was excellent, and a lot of detail in the attachment, because it gets to something that we don't always see, which is what you guys can do a great job in this room, but how does it happen in our buildings and then in our classrooms? So what is the work, and it's specifically being done with principals, vice principals, building technology coaches, academic chairs, and so making that really concrete was I think very effective. Yeah, thank you.
Plus, I wanted Mark to feel like he really gets down.
Yeah, you did, Mark. Thanks, Jenny. Mr. Moy.
Sure. Item 8.01, the 2019 and 2020 academic calendar. This is a motion to approve the 2019-2020 academic calendar as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I did have a question because this year is like next year, and I question November 7th and 8th, which are a half day and then a day off, when November 11th is a holiday, apparently only for me on this board, but for maybe 10% of our population up here. So I guess part of the rationale, though, is because there are parent-teacher meetings taking place that Thursday evening, and yeah, they can't go on a Friday. So once again, anybody's doing anything November 11th, 2019, want to join me for lunch, I'm free. My son won't be home, but
I think that would be a great day for your leadership calls.
Well, I'll get to that. I did have a few of them today, as a matter of fact, Greg. That's a good point. We can do them maybe over lunch next year. So, yeah. Awesome. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, board business. Item 9.01 is a motion for the third and final reading of Policy 006 on meetings.
Second.
Any discussion? It's our third reading. Thank you all very much. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.02 is a motion to approve the attendance of Dr. Campbell at the 2018 PAGE Conference in Cranberry.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. And item 9.03 is a discussion item to consider the possibility of holding one of our board meetings in 2019 at A.W. Beatty.
Sure. Eric Keesley and I, he's the director at Beatty, had the same thought the other day when I was there for a meeting. A few years ago, we held a Pine-Richland School Board meeting at Beatty. So it is still Pine-Richland. It's just basically taking this table in this room, having our meeting there for the purpose of being able to tour the facilities, see the type of programming. You know, there's not a lot of time, but we could take 45 minutes to do that. It sort of grounds us in the fact that A.W. Beatty is a part of our school district. We, with the sending school, the other sending schools, we have two board members, Mrs. Goebel and Mrs. Misbach, who are part of the joint operating committee. And so we think it'd be a great opportunity. It's just down the road. March 18th was a date that I know works for us, works for Beatty if it works for us. We don't have any committee meetings scheduled at that time. It's just a Monday in March.
Did you mention the food?
We can arrange for dinner as well. They have a culinary program that is excellent.
Can Mr. Karpinski travel with us and film us at that location?
What? I'm not sure. Did we film the last time? We did. Yeah. Okay.
Of course he's going to say that.
It's dinner.
I want food. Yeah.
We'll work.
It is a great opportunity. Thanks for bringing that forward. So.
Would it make sense to push up a start time and almost call it like a committee meeting?
Well, that's
so if you'd like, I mean, 5:45 I think pushes some of the board. So, but if we wanted to get started at 5:45 with something to eat, and then that would leave 45 minutes to walk and see some of the programming.
And 6:30 for the formal agenda.
What date was that again?
March 18th.
Would that work for everybody? 6:30 on the formal agenda, 5:45 informal tour.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Steve. All right.
Good, Mrs. Williams.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that forward. I appreciate it. You're going to hear 9 dings going off in your pockets in a second.
That also happens 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
There you go.
5:30.
All right. Item 10.01 is reports, and I do have a couple items. First, as Greg joked, we did make an effort this year and completed just today all the board leadership evaluation input from board members, which I really want to thank everybody for their time their input, their reflections. I especially want to thank Christine and Mark for meeting at 9 a.m. Saturday in person, which was a great opportunity. And so this is really, I think it is a good practice, and I am penciling in next year, Greg, as well, because it ties in so well right now with what we're doing with our strategic plan and also going into the reorg meeting. So we can have these conversations about what we're trying to do, the values we're trying to elevate, the good things that we do that we're trying to build on, sustain, and do it in an environment of transparency and open communication. So I really appreciate everyone's effort to do that, and thank you all so much for your time in that. We do have the reorg meeting coming up, but I wanted to also plant a seed, because that typically is a relatively light agenda. We're not looking usually at a 9:30 or 10 o'clock departure time. I wanted to reserve on the agenda under board business some discussion of board goals in the context of our strategic plan for that evening. I think with everybody in our conversations about board leadership, I did take the opportunity to plant some of those seeds about board goals and got some great feedback. And I will tell you, because I may be the only one who knows, very consistent feedback about some of the ideas and reactions to some of those ideas. So I don't think it would take us more than 20 minutes to begin to gel these nascent ideas into something that fits very neatly into our strategic plan, really elevates and helps us communicate publicly what we're trying to do to build and better the district's mission. So if that would be good for everyone, fantastic.
Can I hold you 220?
You can. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to defer that. I spoke to Matt Mihalik earlier, and I'd like Matt to kind of guide us in that goal process if possible. So starting right now, you can tell Mark, no way on 20 minutes, but actually starting right now is we talked about ideas, all of us, over the past week, and if some of that is fermenting and you just can't hold back and you want to sort of throw it at Matt or say, hey, this is a great idea, we talked about this, how does this look? I would strongly encourage you to reach out to Matt. And in fact, you're going to get some emails along those lines to ping him and say, here's where I'm at. Because Matt's job, and this is why I'm passing on it, is it's the hard part. It's not actually coming up with the goals, right? It's coalescing all the things and all the ideas we have into some few tangible goals that are well aligned, and that's actually harder than it sounds. So.
He said 25, by the way.
That is all I have. So, no other anything? Okay. Any other reports?
I just go do a prof board meeting tomorrow night, so there's no report there, and then we have Beatty on Thursday night. So, next meeting.
Fantastic.
And I just want to add, I attended the PAGE meeting last week, and there was an excellent presentation on the gifted review process, on how gifted students are identified, and the MTSS system for helping all students who need additional acceleration, whether or not they're identified as gifted. So I want to thank all those here who presented at that meeting.
Thanks, everyone. We'll now move to our second recognition of visitors. Again, if you try to limit yourself to 3 minutes, tell us who you are. We appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Jim Kopek, 112 Tanglewood. We're kind of late getting to the party on the start times for the schools, and we're just curious if there's any thought process or consideration with the elementary schools with having some sort of morning program. North Hills School District does that, where they have, I think it starts an hour early, where you can pay $3.50 or $4, and the kids can either watch a movie or have a snack or something with that type of plan in place, and it makes it easier on some of the parents that can't really adjust their schedule. So I don't know if there's anything in consideration like that. And then also, the woman who spoke before, I wasn't planning on saying this, but with the metal detectors, I would be for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Melissa Martinez, 123 Raybould Drive. I'm here also to talk about school start times. I want to start by saying I really commend the board and the district for recognizing the importance of mental health and well-being to all students across the district. It really is a critical issue. And I think if you look at the evidence for high school students, it's clear and compelling that a later start would be very valuable to our students. Unfortunately, the proposal that has been brought forward is actually a significantly negative impact to our primary and elementary school education students. I'm not seeing the same body of evidence that's convincing me that this is an effective change for our students. If you look at the National Center for Education Statistics, you can see already that we are in the significant minority for elementary school start times across the entire United States. So only about 10%, 10.6 if you want to use their statistics, % of schools start their primary elementary education at 9 a.m. or later. If you look across our nearest neighbor districts, we have the latest start time currently at 9:15, later than any other district. The range for those start times are Hampton at 8:30 to 9 o'clock for Mars and North Allegheny. So while the proposal says it's a minor change to our elementary students, I would argue it's actually a major change because we're so far out of the norm of where you would typically expect to see elementary education. Now that begs the question of why does that matter? Why are schools typically having their elementary education earlier? It's generally accepted that students, especially elementary education students, learn best in the morning, typically that 9 to 11 time frame. When you start school where we do now, and then you have your getting ready in the morning, the instruction is really not getting started until about 9:30. When you propose shifting to 9:40, you're actually starting instruction probably around 10. If that window is 9 to 11, when the students are most active and engaged, you are missing that. In fact, also, it's generally accepted that elementary students tend to start to disengage in the afternoon, typically in that 2 to 3 p.m. time frame. So we've already shifted our schedules to disadvantage our elementary education students, and by proposing a further shift, it's even worse for them from a learning standpoint. Now, you look at what are some of the other bodies of evidence of why this is not a great example. So the American Association of Pediatrics recently rolled out a report, their prescription for play, right? The value of this, the impact to students' mental health starting at a very, very young age, having the ability to play with others socially, whether that's through play dates, whether that's through extracurricular activities. The later that you push their elementary start time, the harder it's going to be for them to get any of those activities during the week. Now, as a further example, it's very hard. I'm sure those of you who were looking at this had a hard time finding other evidence of shifting of elementary start times. There is a 1998 report from the University of Minnesota that looked at their shift in start times. So they made a change to their high school schedule and shifted it earlier. As a result, they had elementary schools that had a 3-tiered start. They had schools that started at 7:40 a.m., 8:40 a.m., and 9:40 a.m. And almost all of those schools, of which there were, I think about 71 elementary schools, were spread. Three of the schools were not changed. The rest of them were. So they went through and studied what actually happened to the students when their start times were shifted earlier and later. I just want to give you a couple quotes from this. The topic from the elementary respondents that generated the most feedback was the negative effect of the 9:40 later start on teaching and learning in the shortened morning. There were concerns of student fatigue and disengagement in the afternoon. These are the concerns of the elementary parents. There's a wide range of other issues. This report is available. I'm happy to share it, but you can also access it online. So while there's not a ton of data available, the data that is there says that we are already very late for our elementary students' best learning, which happens in the morning, and further shifting it is going to have an even worse effect on our students. I can't imagine that anyone sitting here thinks it's a great idea for a 5-year-old who's just starting school to be coming home at 5 p.m. These students wake up very early in the morning, and while their school may not start until 9:40, what are they going to be doing in the meantime? They'll probably have a relatively early bedtime. In fact, across our district, elementary school students are likely to have the earliest bedtime and get up the earliest. So I think we're doing them a huge disservice in doing this. In conclusion, I totally agree that the high school students need a later start. The evidence, again, is clear and compelling. However, the solution proposed by our district to look at pushing our elementary students even later is not acceptable. We're sacrificing our youngest students, ages 5 to 9, 5 to 8, and saying it's okay for you to come home near dark, to not be able to finish a baseball game because of safety concerns that you won't be able to see the ball, to not play with friends after school because it's too dark. So I would like the district to go back to find another solution, of which I'm sure we can find something. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? Seeing how there's none, I'd move to adjourn the meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.